Please rise for invocation by Pastor Tom Nelson of First United Methodist Church, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. And yes, you are a pretty good golf shot.
Let us pray. Lord, we thank you for the leadership of our community gathered here tonight. We thank you for the council and the concerned citizens, all of whom seek to promote the welfare of this great city, the betterment of its citizens, and the prosperity of all who call Port Orange home. May the discussions and decisions of this evening be made with passions towards the purpose of community, to live in fellowship and peace with our neighbors, and to work together for the good. In God we trust and pray this evening. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Tom. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I had the chance to get to know the pastor a couple weeks ago at a chamber golf tournament. We had a very enjoyable time. Call the roll, please.
Councilman Ford.
Here.
Councilman Tremont.
Here.
Councilman Bastian.
Here.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Here.
Mayor Burnett.
Here. Public comments on consent agenda items only, items 6 through 12. If anybody would like to comment, come on up, Robert.
Mayor, council members, Robert Reinhagen, 1425 Dexter Drive, Port Orange. On the one concerning the extension of the contract for universal towing, I've looked at the contract, and it provides for the towing company to carry various kinds of insurance, as well as a surety bond, performance bond. They will also be required to tow police, fire vehicles free, as well as vehicles seized under Chapter 932 of the Florida statutes. They must clean debris off public streets at accident scenes at no cost to the city. The city also sets rates that the tow company can charge. And yet, for this privilege, the tow company pays the city $8,600 a month. And one of the reasons that they gave in the thing about why we should continue this, extend it, was that it's a profitable thing. And to me, the money just doesn't add up. How they make money if they're providing all this free service and then paying for the privilege of doing it. So my concern is that somehow we, the city, making a profit, and the company making a profit off the backs of people's misery and trauma. And so I know that you have the capability of putting restrictions on how much they can charge to tow or to store. And that is another thing that's confusing, is if there's got these restrictions, how are they making a profit? And so I think that the city, I don't know, to me there's a gold mine there, and that the city should be considering having our own impound lodge, impound place. And so just get the tow company to bring it to our city's impound lot, and then we can make sure that people are not being taken advantage of because of their trauma and misery. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Robert. Anybody else like to speak to anything that's on the consent agenda, with items 6 through 12? There being none, agenda approval. I would like to pull item 7. Anything else? Being none, can I have a motion for the approval of the balance?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Time out. We need a motion to
Motion to approve
Pull.
item number 7 and
to pull item number 7A.
pull it
Okay.
and approve the balance.
Thank you.
So that's a motion to pull item 7 and approve the balance. And do I have a second?
Yes.
I have a second from all over the place. Robin can decide which one was which.
Drew can have it. I'll get him later.
There you go. Friendly competition. All right. Geez, are you competitive even in this? Okay. Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 7, the reason why I wanted that pulled is that I just wanted to mention, I understand staff's desire to extend this 6 months while we look at this. I was a little critical of extending it back in 16 as it was, considering the location of the lot, how far they've got to come, and the things they've got to do. Mr. Reinhagen, when we come back in 6 months and put this out to bid, I invite you to come back and share your concerns again. But one thing that I'd like us to do, Jake, is I know in the contract it calls for us to be able to do billing audits, and I'd kind of like to know if we've done any and what the results of those are. And that's, other than that, I have no problem with extending. May I have a motion for approval of item 7?
So moved.
Second.
May I have a motion second? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That brings us all the way to item 13, which I need a motion to continue to,
Just continue, I don't know the date she wants.
okay, motion to continue to the date that's agreeable to the applicant.
Motion. So
Second.
moved.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second, all in
Hold
favor?
on, Tom.
One question, if I may. Do we have any advertising on this?
No,
It's a citizen
No, it's
agenda
just a-
item.
no.
Just checking. Thank you.
So, can I, Mayor, ask if it's a citizen participation, isn't it hers to pull and not, so we're not continuing, we're just pulling it off until further notice? Because she may never come back, so I just want to make sure that we get the wording right, so we don't have to bring it back to dismiss it if she never shows up.
I don't know that a motion is needed at all, but
Right.
it's on the floor now,
She,
so.
she's not here for a citizen agenda item, so,
You may withdraw the motion.
We can withdraw the motion if you so choose.
oh,
She's
I'm
here.
sorry, I didn't see it, Kim, I apologize. So just procedurally, I don't,
So that you can handle it as needed?
sure,
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Do you withdraw the motion? Okay,
Yes.
motion withdrawn, and you can
Well, yeah,
reschedule
we'll
accordingly.
work with Kim, and if it has to come back to council, we'll get it there. Sorry about that.
No
See you
problem.
back there.
Very good. Which brings us to item
My
14,
glasses.
fee waiver request for Riverwalk Park event. Item 14. Who's speaking to this?
Hello, everybody. My name is Sean Tomarelli. My address is 2819 Gladys Terrace, Daytona Beach, Florida, 32118. I'm the founder of Youth Athletic Charity. Youth Athletic Charity funds youth who cannot participate in athletic programs due to cost. I'm here today to request a fee waiver for my November 27th fundraising event called Giving Tuesday 5K Beer Walk and Food Truck Rally. The event is to help fund our youth Yak Football Academy in Port Orange, which will begin in January. The program will provide premium football training to youth free in Port Orange. Thank you.
Jake, my understanding is that we had $725 in fees that we've reduced using our newly adopted matrix by 85%. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So that's roughly $109.50 left.
The total cost was $535, Mayor. Did you say 7?
I said, I had the 535 and there was 195 also for,
The rental fee. Rental fee $195, staffing fees for parks and police at $340 for a total cost of $535.
okay, gotcha.
The 85% waiver would apply.
So it's actually even less than 109. Okay. So the 195 was included in the 535. Gotcha. Council, what's your pleasure? Discussion?
I'll just make a brief comment, and I'll be a broken record every time we get requests. I used to, first of all, I appreciate what you're doing, and I can't support a fee waiver. If you'd asked me last year, I'd have said yes, because I was waiving them left and right. But I kind of made a new commitment, given that I'm continuing to fight increases in millage rates every year. I think it's hypocritical on my end if I'm requesting we don't raise over here, and yet I'm waiving on this end. So, and that's all across the board. You know, if Relay for Life Cancer Organization comes up, I'm going to apply the same thing. So it's certainly nothing personal. But just wanted to explain where my position's at. I think the matrix that we did set up a while back, we put long hours into doing it. I think it's helped you quite a bit, and I'm supportive of
Knocked it
that.
down $80.
Yeah, with that said, I can't support that, but I do, that's not an indication of my support of what you guys are doing. I appreciate that very much.
Believe you me, I think we all have social media accounts that can help spread the word for you too. Any other comments, questions, motions to entertain, or no?
Well, I'd say, you know, we put this matrix in for a reason, and this is one of the, you know, events that fits into what we've established, and a lot of work went into that. And so I'd move that we support the request with whatever the matrix suggests.
I'll support that.
So that's we don't even necessarily need a motion, but if you wanted a motion to the affirmative to support what staff did, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll be more than willing to entertain it. May I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any other comments, council? There being none, call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, and while I have no problem with you asking, there's no problem with you coming and asking whether the answer is yes or no. You're no worse off than you were when you walked in the door, so I have no problem with that. What you probably don't know is that we've gotten so many of these requests that we actually devised a fee waiver matrix so that we could be consistent in what we waived, what we didn't, and how much, so that we could be consistent with all the groups that approach us for things like that.
A lot of the money that we're raising at this event actually goes back into the city. The first fundraising event that we did, we were able to sponsor the Mayor's Golf Tournament, funding about 15 kids to play youth athletic sports through the city of Port Orange. So the more money that we get waived, just the more money that we can put back into the community.
Understood. Nonetheless, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, make sure that all of us up here are, maybe drop us an email and things that we can share and help get the word out. And we can help you in other ways.
Share it on social
Okay.
media
So-
or whatever.
so-
I'm a
since
basketball
you mentioned-
coach, so I don't mind coming to a football event though.
Well, I'm starting a basketball academy in March. Coach Giddens is actually going to lead it up. We're funding about 40 kids, 2 traveling teams. He's going to be the coach for it. So we're going to do that in March in Daytona Beach, and then this one's going to be the program that we're starting
You know
in.
why he's coaching? Because he wants to recruit him for when he signs up to coach.
And that was one of my selling points.
Who's the
I actually
football?
talked to Denver Cobb too. He suggested you were a good person to get included for that because I think you might have basketball past or something like
A
that.
little bit.
Okay.
I'd be honored to, so
Okay.
I'd love to touch base with you afterwards, my friend.
All right.
And so while you're on the dais, and you got the audience online and on television, why don't you tell them who you are and what the event is, and you can promote your own event right here for a minute.
Yep. The event is November 27th. It's on Giving Tuesday, which is an international giving movement day for people to give back. So we're doing the event on that day so people can come and support a cause locally, and this cause will support our community. So the funds raised through that, we're going to be able to give back to Port Orange for kids who can't afford to play sports due to cost. A lot's going to go towards our football academy that we're starting in Port Orange in January, as well as our basketball academy that we're starting in March. And then we'll be able to fund kids as well to local recreational programs and things like that that can't afford those participation costs, as well as equipment costs and other costs that are included in that. It's going to be a fun event, 5K beer walk and food truck rally. We have 5 food trucks confirmed for the event. Beer is going to be served there. It's going to be, walking around the riverfront venue. And then once the 5K walk is concluded, grab some food, hang out with friends, and enjoy the scenery.
What time does it start?
6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
In the Chamber of Commerce, John, you're guaranteeing them good weather, right? Okay. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Would you make sure when you get a chance, go on the city website, grab all of our emails, and send us some information that we can use to help promote the event?
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Hey, Sean.
Yeah.
Thanks, brother.
Citizen participation non-agenda. Robin, do I have any requests?
Yes, just one.
Mr. Mark Dickinson. Okay. Thank you, Mark. Comments, concerns from council members. Start on this end with you, Drew.
Just not much. I just wanted to comment on the Port Orange University. Give Christina and staff and everybody that made that come together you know, a round of applause because they've earned it, and they obviously, you know, from the comments, they did a great job. So kudos to you all for doing that. We appreciate it. To the participants, thank you for coming, attending, and taking your time to learn more about the city, and share your experience with your friends and neighbors and whoever, and get them, so that every year we have to turn people away, and we can keep doing it, and she can keep, you know, keep the process going, because obviously it's popular.
That it?
Period.
Scott?
That's it.
Yeah, I'd like to echo some of those comments. Great group tonight. It really benefits the council members tremendously anytime that we can hear from the residents. And in this atmosphere, especially after they've kind of gone through the city and really gotten a unique perspective of the operations and the day-to-day stuff. And like was mentioned earlier by one of the participants, as long as when you turn the faucet on, good clean water comes out, that's what matters. But it is kind of neat to go see what that process entails, and there's a lot more behind it. So I really appreciate the job, Christine, that you've done with this program. I know every time you do it, you learn as well. I really would love to try to find more time for myself to try to pop in and get more involved in it. But hearing from the residents is really beneficial for us, and I hope that they all stay engaged. I think that their unique perspective now will even be something I think we can lean towards more in terms of having another group of ambassadors throughout the city to try to help us when the time and the needs are there, to explain what's going on in the city and how certain things work, and kind of give a more accurate perspective from time to time. So great program. Look forward to the next class, the next group, and keeping in touch and hearing from you folks that have participated in this. Other than that, I think that's all I got tonight.
Bob, what you got this week?
Got a couple of things. For those of you that have called me about Ridgewood Avenue, the plantings have problems in certain area. We have a vendor that's responsible, and we will hold their feet to the fire. So don't be concerned, the city is on it. We will be making sure that when it is turned over to the city, it'll be in pristine shape. Number two, which is really exciting, things are beginning not only to percolate as it has been for the last year at Riverwalk, but we're now talking about the public trail on Halifax that'll wend its way all the way down to New Smyrna Beach and ultimately throughout the state of Florida. So you'll be able to get on your skateboard, your bike. I know the pastor loves his bike, and you'll be able to go throughout the state. So exciting things are happening. We're having a meeting Wednesday, the 14th of November at the Piggott Community Center, where people along Halifax and in the other affected areas will be able to see what the trail is exactly means for them. It's going to be one-waying. Halifax Drive is going to be one way. There'll only be one lane for local traffic, and the other lane is going to be open up for walking, biking, skating, and all the other things. So it's kind of exciting as it all comes together. Secretly, in the back of your mind, think about a pedestrian bridge across Dunlawton, hooked up to Riverwalk, and begin to see where Port Orange is moving. Those of you that have lived or experienced the West Coast along Sarasota and the like, you're going to be seeing a lot of those amenities coming to Port Orange. And I, for one, am very excited.
Chase?
Yeah, two things. Number one, I'll also comment on the Port Orange University. Christine, as always, does a terrific job with that. And I always love coming up there and meeting the folks that are in there. And, you know, there's nothing more, soothing and more friendly, I guess, than as a council member talking to an educated citizen. Because they understand when they're talking about problems, they're talking about issues. They also understand the challenges in resolving those issues. So those conversations always make it much more effective. So I always appreciate that. I'm very glad we do this as a city. The other issue, not an issue, but something I'd like us to to look into. And I briefly spoke with Jake about it yesterday. I'd like to ask, and I've not been known to ask for cost analysis on anything. I'm not into spending money too often. However, I think it's time we look at upgrading our baseball fields or softball fields to a quality clay surface. What we have on there is basically a rock with a bunch of sand on it. And what it does is, and it was brought to my attention by a number of parents a couple weeks ago, my daughter included, who plays on the Panthers. You know, when it rained, I think it was on a Friday morning or whatnot, and then, yeah, it's gone for the weekend. I went and drove by the next day. We had to make an audible at the last minute to move the tournament out to Claremont. That's 30 teams that are no longer going to be given the city revenue, or whoever it is in Port Orange that's charging the tournament fees, in addition to the amount of teams that are going to be taking their kids to restaurants, to eateries, and other things of that nature. So it's an economic benefit for us to at least explore this, to get in that minimum of 60-40 clay dirt type of quality in there. It also is a safety issue, in my opinion. I think I still have some burns on my leg from when I was sliding on those fields when I was a kid. It's a dangerous thing when the kids are sliding into home base and you've got a foot in there, and it's I've told my daughter a number of times, don't slide into home. Problem is, some of the rules of those games, you have to slide into home, you're out. I think it's a safety issue. So, you know, Spruce Creek High School has, you know, some of the best fields in Volusia County. It can rain at 9:30 and we'll still play a game at 4 o'clock in the afternoon because of how well it absorbs in there. I think we can do it pretty cost effectively. I think we can do a lot of the labor in-house. We put all the clay at our fields, just the coaches. You have it delivered, and I think we have a lot of those, the equipment to do that here. But I would request, I'd like the support to at least look and see what the cost analysis would be to upgrading it and really making our parks a little better in that situation.
Mayor, I'd like to ask a following question here. I understood from our conversation earlier that you wanted to look at a different topping, but I understand from our conversation this evening that the intent is to not have water on the fields and be able to play after a rainstorm. Is that correct?
Well,
do you want clay or do you want no rain or no water, standing water? Because it might not be the same. I don't want to buy a couple tons of clay and put it on there and go, it didn't work.
No,
I played with wet clay on a baseball field.
So if you're looking for drainage, let us come up with a plan that'll.
It's not a drainage issue. It's really the clay and how it absorbs.
There you have it. You got it? All right.
So
just checking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, we can't stop the rain.
No, I didn't mean stop the rain.
But yeah, it's
I've been told it's a drainage issue, but we'll work on the clay.
Anything else, Chase?
That's all I got.
Okay. A couple things I wanted to mention while you're on Parks and Rec, because I know Friday night, I believe, is the movie in the park, in Riverwalk Park. So, and go to our website, get more information on that. Very, very kid-friendly event this Friday night in Riverwalk Park. And since it gets darker earlier, they don't have to wait near as long to get it going. And some of those people can actually get home at a sane hour. I know Pete's smiling about that. Secondly, I don't know how many people heard about Halloween here in City Center. Oh my goodness. Trunk or treating, there were thousands of kids, not hundreds, there were thousands. We just coming through the circle, police and fire had their things. We had plenty of members of the community that participated in the handing out of the candy. We had a haunted house. We had the costume contest. We had a petting zoo. We had inflatables. We had food trucks. I was just absolutely blown away with the turnout and the quality of the event. It is just absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to Parks and Rec. That was just one of the very best things that they can do by far. Jake, I sent you an email earlier today. Halifax Health reached out to me, and I want to thank them. because they want to take a look. Hopefully we can work it out, but they want to take a look at sponsoring some coverings in our parks down at Riverwalk Park.
Nice.
Some shades, shade screens. So I look forward to seeing what they have in mind with help for that. But
do you know? So a couple months ago, somebody came up and talked about the all children's park splash pad and play area being too hot. So now Halifax comes back and says we want to cover Riverwalk. So do they want to help us with the proposal that was made earlier, or do they want to cover Riverwalk? I just have to be straight on that. Do you know before we contact you?
he specifically mentioned Riverwalk.
Riverwalk, all right.
And where there is no shade, there are
Yeah.
no trees at all. So just
Got it. Okay.
hey, if we can squeeze an additional park out of it,
I don't want to squeeze it. I just want to make sure that he's not responding to the request.
No, he's not responding
and-
to anything. They reached out to me directly, and I just
Got it.
want to give kudos to Halifax as a
Absolutely.
community member for doing that.
Yeah, Peter and Susan will contact them and we'll set something up.
Okay. Also, some notes on the calendar. Monday is Veterans Day observed. Seeing as Sunday is actual Veterans Day, but Monday is Veterans Day observed. 10 a.m. will be the Veterans Day ceremony at Memorial Park, just on the other side of the lake. So if you guys can make your calendar notes to be there, if you're available, I'd love to see everybody at that. And just wanted to mention, I was absolutely amazed at the level of engagement, and of course, people don't realize this. Port Orange is the 3rd largest city in the county, but we've got the most registered voters of every city in the county. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have a very engaged citizenry, and yesterday was certainly another example of that. So very proud of that. And I think that goes through my notes. So which brings us to report from Kemper Sports on the Cypress Head Golf Course.
Good evening, Mr. Manager, members of City Council, Mr. Mayor.
Did you bring Reggie here for an update on Journey Fitness?
You saw that video, huh?
I did.
That's cool.
Good job.
Bob Duquette, General Manager for Cypress Head Golf Course. This is a report for the month of September and actually the end of our fiscal year 2017 to 2018. I'm just proud. I brought Reggie along to share our pride, announcing the fact that even with our challenging weather patterns that we've had throughout the course of the year itself, our team at Cypress Head's been able to beat the projected budget and as well show a positive gain for the fiscal year. So even though the revenue was less than expected, we accomplished this by controlling our expenses, monitoring our payroll during all the difficult times during the course of the season. And because of our dedication of our Kemper Sports management team, Reggie, Suzanne, everyone else that's there, our employees, pro shop maintenance, outside services, this was truly a team effort, so I'm very proud of everybody, especially for the city too. It's a wonderful thing. Our entire team, we continue to support Flag Sticks. We continue to build a strong relationship with Kevin, who's the owner. Reggie Hunter has been working with him directly to promote the facility to all of our guests. Email blast, promotional advertising, Facebook, Instagram. In terms of our tee sheet for the month of September, we had 2,873 total rounds. We had 2,216 paid, 427 annuals, and 230 other rounds. Breaks down to 2,067 18-hole rounds and 711 9-holes. So as I mentioned, the weather during the month of September was a welcome relief to the rains that we sustained during the course of the summer, and that allowed maintenance teams to follow up on their agronomic plans. We did a slit-injected program controlling mole crickets, which is a curse to golf courses, and we applied it to 36 acres on the golf course itself. And our maintenance team continues to work with all the projects that we need to do to maintain the golf course. In the gift card sales, we sold $534. We had $5,300 in pro shop sales. We continue to offer lesson packages for anyone, beginners, advanced players. We're running quite a few clinics right now, so anyone who's interested in golf, We are doing a Friday and Saturday night under the lights. So the lights will be turned on at the practice facility until 7 o'clock. So if you want to come out and practice, and I believe I heard maybe she might come over and visit on evenings for the classes. A couple of things here. We also received our Reader's Choice Award for the best of the best for the golf course for Volusia and Flagler County for our second year in a row. During the course of the year, we sent out over 4,800 questionnaires. So for our fiscal 2017-18, our overall golf course received 8.3, our recommended rating of 8.9, and our service rating was at 9.5, which is great over the course of the year's time. Our new team, our entire team, dedicated serving the needs of the community, trying to do as much as we possibly can for the city of Port Orange. And we are introducing, of course, men's and ladies golf clinics. And we just recently held the 2018 Florida High Schools Class 3A Region 2 Junior Golf Tournament in October. Unfortunately, the Spruce Creek team didn't. They finished 4th out of the team, so they did not make it to states. And everyone, we are looking forward to continuing our success for the upcoming fiscal year 2018. And our entire team is excited about being the best golf course in Volusia County.
Awesome.
Thank you.
And that's how you're gonna finish, on top, right?
Right on top.
There you go.
That's a good
Comments,
season.
questions?
No, good, thank you, appreciate it.
See you next month.
A lot of opportunities to play golf in the holidays coming up, right?
Holidays are good. We've actually started to see some of our northern friends return.
Good.
So the pace of play or the amount of play is picked up quite a bit.
I hear all the other golf courses in Volusia County are in horrible shape. There's no need to even go there.
I worry only about ours.
Yeah. Ours is much nicer and safer anyway.
Ours is in great shape.
Bob, are you still doing the kick golf thing?
The foot golf? No.
No.
Good. All right.
It didn't. It's not been in my tenure.
I
but
hated
it's
golfing and seeing somebody
it's-
kicking a big ball.
Yeah, it's
in the fairway.
had a bit of time about 3 or so years ago, but it's not as involved as a lot of investment for not much return.
Very good.
Hey, you gave it a go.
Yep.
All right.
We're all good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks, Bob.
Environmental Advisory Board report. John Macaluso siding.
Good evening, all. Mayor Burnett, council staff, John Macaluso, chairperson, Environmental Advisory Board. Just a quick update. We met on October 22nd. We had a regular meeting. Some of our discussions included Riverwalk environmental issues. We're going to start taking a look at that. Tim Berman, our Community Development Director, discussed the city's plans for the Causeway redevelopment. We took a look at the redevelopment as it's set up. I advised the EAB members to, on their time, between now and the next meeting, to get over to the Riverwalk, take a look at it, come up with your concerns, your questions, and let's have them ready for the next meeting so we can get this moving and on the program for next year. The subject of proper palm tree pruning came up, and we discussed this briefly at our last meeting. And in the October meeting, we had a guest to further the discussion. Ray Jarrett, a professor from UCF, provided us with the UCF presentation and recommendations for the correct pruning of palm trees. We've asked the staff to take a look to see what we have as what we consider proper pruning, and if we have any plan in effect, and if we do, let's compare it to what UCF has and see what the differences are, if there are any. On Tuesday the 23rd, the tree ordinance update, we met with you all and went over the items and discussed, again, Tim put on a presentation on behalf of the EAB, and we presented the proposed changes to the existing tree ordinance. And the EAB and the staff will make the final adjustments. We'll work with the planning board on items that need to run through the planning board. And hopefully in January, at our January meeting, we'll be able to put some items to bed and get it ready to you sometime in January. With that, it was a very quick, short meeting, but we had a number of issues that we put on the table for next year, and we're going to get this tree ordinance signed, sealed, and delivered.
You guys have had a good year.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Questions, comments?
No?
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Public hearing portion of the meeting, second reading of ordinance number 2018-27. Staff has requested that this be continued.
To December 4th, I believe, Mayor.
Correct.
That's correct.
May I have a motion to that effect?
Motion to continue
Second.
public hearing.
Second, just a quick question. Has there been interaction with some of the big chains, the guys that were here? Anybody else?
We took their, yes, and we're taking their concerns and wrapping them up in the ordinance. We just ran out of man hours to
That's fine. I just want to see
tidy
if
it
they
up.
follow through with getting the ball.
If you need more time to get it right, that's A-okay by me.
So, yeah, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna allow people that are following the rules the latitude to keep on following the rules.
Just an interesting note for you on that. So the very next day after we had that, obviously heightened on my attention, from City Center to Westport Plaza, there was 11.
Yeah.
Just out there on sidewalks, public right-of-ways, in multiple colors, so obviously.
Every day,
different
Vice
stores.
Mayor Stilton.
Yeah. Interesting.
I often get out at the Dorothy L. Huckel City Center Annex and walk up to Clyde Morris and just start tossing them back into the parking lots.
Yep.
And that's just that block.
With that, we have a motion on the floor to continue, and a second to continue to December 4th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are continued on that. Regular agenda, approval to negotiate with top-ranked vendor for ERP. Mr. Alan Rosen has a 21 slide PowerPoint. 21 slides. Man.
2 seconds each.
Jake
most of them are-
didn't get in there and edit that thing, did he?
No, I did. It's 50.
Alan Rosen, Assistant City Manager. I'm honored to be the only thing on the regular agenda this evening. Council, Madam Attorney, Mr. City Manager, thank you. As you know, I'll get through a little bit of the ERP in a second, but as part of that process, in the RFP, it indicates that once the committee has ranked their top-ranked vendor, that we will come to you to ask for your blessing to negotiate with the top-ranked vendor, then we will go back and do so. So that's why we're here tonight. And just to give you an overview, as we usually do once a quarter or so, just to let you know where we're going with this big project. You've seen this chart before. It may be a little bit different, but basically we released the RFP back in April, and the committee reviewed the proposals. They narrowed it down. These companies came on site, and they picked the #1 ranked vendor. And right now we have on the program here to get it toward to council December 4th. We're a little bit behind in reviewing the documents and then getting back with the top-ranked vendor, but we hope to get that to you by the end of December, beginning of January. The selection committee included people from all across the organization, not just finance, not just HR, but these type of projects are viewed as an organization-wide and almost a community-wide endeavor. It's not just the finance people that use it and the HR, it's also our vendors who might use it for self-service and our employees who use it for self-service for things like changing their address, and of course we use it for more in-depth things internally like doing budget transfers and analysis and HR type related activities. So we started the responses. We actually, for a city our size, we actually were great, and I have to provide our thanks to not only Jane Davis, our project manager, but also GFOA, who we brought on board to kind of help us out with this process. They've done it a million times. We actually got 8 responses to this RFP, to something so large, and to a small city our size, that was pretty big. We got a lot of big name people to respond, including Workday, Oracle, Microsoft Dynamics, and Tyler Technologies, which we don't often see in this small of a market. So, in this day and age, you've got implementation partners generally in software solutions. So your software is your software, but a lot of the software companies don't actually do their own implementations. They actually collaborate with other organizations to actually help you implement the software, because they recognize for the most part that's not their core business. They don't do a great job at that. So they have other companies that do process improvement and management of getting softwares in a successful way. So you see here we've got all these implementation partners. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 actually propose Oracle. And then once the committee reviewed those, they narrowed it down to 3 softwares. So that was Microsoft Dynamics that kind of went out there as not being able to provide us the detail that we needed. That left us with Workday, Oracle, and Tyler. And then there were three implementation partners left on the table for Oracle. Once those vendors came on site and the crowd then got narrowed to a stage called Discovery, and we still stayed with Workday, Oracle, and Tyler, but then the implementation partners were only one for each of those things. After listening to all that, and I have to also hand it to that list of people that you saw in the selection committee, it was a lot of work, a lot of reading, a lot of research, and a lot of time invested in what they felt was really best for this organization going forward. They then ranked those collaborative solutions with Workday number 1, Sierra Cedar implementing Oracle with number 2, and Tyler implementing itself at number 3. So just to give you an idea of who Collaborative Solutions and what Workday is, I just want to give you a little bit of a snapshot. Collaborative Solutions, they are a preferred partner with Workday. They kind of work together in implementing these things. They've implemented over 450 Workday products for different various organizations throughout the country, and they have a 98% customer satisfaction rating. Hopefully this obviously we met with these people when we did the change management, when we did the discovery, the people that were going to come and be on our team and with us for the next year and a half, we met those people. It wasn't just a salesperson coming saying, I'm going to sell you this, we're going to do a great job. We got to meet the heads of the finance, the heads of the implementation, the heads of HR, people that we'd be working with on a day-to-day basis. And to give you an idea of some of their clients, they helped Facebook implement their ERP, University of Chicago, Sacramento Kings, Buncombe County, North Carolina, whom we spoke to when we did reference checks, Brown University, and some more.
Sacramento Kings.
Yeah. There weren't any other basketball teams. I apologize. And so now focusing on Workday, so we just looked at the implementation partner, which is Collaborative Solutions, focusing back on Workday, looking at some of the people. They've implemented hundreds of solutions for organizations throughout the United States. I just get a smattering of a couple. You see there are 2 here already in the state of Florida. City of Orlando was actually one of the first governments to implement it, and we went to go talk to them a couple of weeks ago, and Sarasota County actually just recently, and of course some states, some other large cities and counties as well. For higher education, of course, there was actually a lot here in Florida. University of Miami. Unfortunately, I apologize, Councilman Ford, UCF was not one of them. I tried to find it. I know.
You're apologizing to him and not me?
And to you. Go Canes.
Bad decision.
Very nice. Dr. Ford worked there a little bit longer.
And of course, some other less well-known universities like Yale, Brown, Cornell, and Penn. And then some private sector, sorry, I had to throw a joke in there somewhere. And then for private sector, what I liked about this was really interesting. Some of the private sector clients that actually use Workday for their finance or HR systems are actually people that we do business with on a daily basis. Brown & Brown, and they're local. SunTrust is our bank. OnBase is our document management system. Johnson Controls, I think, does some security for us in the police department, I'm not sure. US Foods, which is right down the street, and of course Collaborative Solutions uses it. Our implementation partner likes it so much they use it as their financial and HR software as well. And then also some, sorry, I have to do the joke again, some less well-known companies like Amazon, Netflix, Target, GE, and Chevron also use Workday for their finance and or HR system.
The first time you used it.
Yeah, that was it. I'm done. So also to give you a snapshot, I know some of you have worked here before and you kind of know the current system. You've seen it in some of its many iterations. It was HTE, I think 10, 11, 12 years ago. It changed to SunGard HTE. And then over the last couple of years, it's actually changed hand 3 times to Superion and actually now Central Square. And they are not focusing on government processes anymore. They're focusing on other types of organizations. So one of the many reasons we and other governments are moving from that software to something else. So you may be familiar with this. Obviously, we actually do still have green screen. And some people in the organization still use it because they know the shortcuts really well. So some of us actually use this because what we have is still on a mainframe. And then, of course, before I got here, they implemented a more visual representation of things that you can find in the system by this, but it also has its limitations, especially if you try to use it on anything but a desktop computer. So just to give you an idea of what your staff may see when they implement Workday, some screens and some capabilities. This is kind of like what somebody might see if they log into their home screen, depending on what kind of access they have, depending on what kind of security setup for that person or that role. And it's much more visually appealing and easy to click and find what you want to find. And then, for example, it's also very easy to use on different platforms. So this is an example of what you might see on an iPad, and you'll see phones as well in a minute. But this is Steve Morgan, Chief Executive Officer. This is something he might see if he's looking at people that report to him, and how many people are reporting to those people, and who they are, and what they do. This is workforce planning. So this may be a dashboard that either anybody in the organization, you or somebody in HR might want to pull up on a daily basis just to see how we're doing. Data that comes right from the system. Headcount and open positions, average time to fill positions. These are things that can be set up either by our implementation partner or by us in the back end to be able to have a quick snapshot of how we're doing with things that are important to us and be able to manage those things more easily. Procurement obviously is a big part of what we do. As you know, one of the things that that council wants to make sure that we don't go over something in the code is not spending too much with one vendor. And if we do, coming back to you to say, hey, we're going to go over that $25,000 threshold, is that okay with you? If you look right here on the left-hand side, these are just snapshots I pulled online that are already created somewhere else. Top suppliers by spend category. So instead of a long process that takes a long time for purchasing to pull together all the time to see where we are in different vendors, this can pull it right directly from the system and be able to show anybody in purchasing or any department what we spent on a different vendor, so we can keep up to date with that. And any number of things that they do on a daily basis. This is an example of an expense. Somebody, let's say, went travel and training and they need to take a picture of a receipt, or they bought something, need to take a picture of a receipt. They can do it from their phone, get it directly in the system. They don't have to be sitting at their desk to do that, or copy it down and do it later. And those, I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what the look and feel of something like this might be. And also keep in mind that through the RFP process, as you saw, we ranked vendors 1, 2, and 3. Should we not be able to negotiate with the top ranked vendor, we already ranked them 1, 2, and 3, and we will just go to vendor number 2. And in the event that we can't get what we need and what we said we wanted, and they won't give it to us for the price that they told us they could, we will come back to you and say we'd like to work with vendor number 2, which was also, all of them were very capable and could do what we need to do. The ranking just fell as they did. So happy to answer any questions, but also need your blessing to go ahead and move forward with negotiating vendor number 1.
Let's get the motion on the floor, the recommended motion, so we can discuss it. The recommended motion is to negotiate with the top ranked vendors, Collaborative Solutions and Workday for the ERP project.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Council comments and questions for Mr. Rosen.
I think just a quick comment. To be honest with you, the fact that they did our bank is the most important piece that I saw from this. The ones we do the most business with, that was the most appealing part. I mean, to me, that's a no-brainer to at least explore going forward.
Bob?
Been involved in this since forever.
It will be a long time till we're done too, but.
Yeah, we still have a long way to go, but we're well on a route.
All right. Scott?
Made me start shaking when you showed the green screen.
Drew?
The green screen was a classic, but it's just been a long process, and glad to see it moving forward.
Anyone from the public like to speak to this? Come on, Robert.
Oh, I just would like to know
Yeah,
what
come on.
ERP means.
Oh, ERP.
The question was, what does ERP? ERP stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And that's just the name the industry has given to very large pieces of software that cover more than one aspect of an organization. Good question. Thank you.
For the record, that was Robert Reinhagen. Thank you, Robert.
Eagles fan. Okay.
Anybody else? Back to us. We have a motion, a second on the floor. Call the roll.
Councilman Ford.
Yes.
Councilman Tremont.
Yes.
Councilman Bastian.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Stiltner.
Yes.
Mayor Burnett.
Yes, 5-0. Item 20, City Attorney comments.
No comments this evening, Mayor.
Item 21, City Manager comments.
Yes, Mayor, I made a huge mistake here, but I'd like to make some comments on the, I'm going to have Tim make some comments on the Nova Road 711 not to be confused with the Circle K where I got the hot dog when I was writing this apparently. But as you're well aware, most of you have gotten some citizen concerns on the building at 7-Eleven on Nova and some of the lighting and the encroachment, and Tim and
Nova and Madeline.
Yeah, so Tim and the owner and a few other engineers have been out there to investigate, and they have somewhat of a mitigation plan. So Tim, if you could quickly brief on what's going on out there.
All right, thank you, Tim Berman, Community Development. As City Manager indicated, we've gone out there a couple times for night inspections with the lights on. We've also had code enforcement out there with us too, along with the contractor. The first time we went out there was some light spilling over onto the adjacent properties. We addressed that with, or they addressed that with glare guards. Also reducing the wattage of some of the parking lot lights in that area. We went back out there again. It met code in terms of the light being cut off at the property line. What we did notice was that some of the trees in the buffer that were previously there, which were under a power line, had been removed by FP&L, which kind of opened up some holes that were not there previously. So we've been working with FP&L, or working with 7-Eleven to add some shade trees in place of understory trees.
Do they have the authorization to move those trees?
Under the power lines, yes.
FP&L does,
Yeah, so the initial thought was to put them back there, but then they're just gonna come back 2 years from now then. So we're working with basically trying to bring them back on the site to get that blocking then. So we've been working with 7-Eleven, and they, indicate they'll continue to work with us on addressing this issue then.
The only thing that I'll ask of you, because it's my area, and I've spoken with a lot of those residents a number of times, just please, if you could, keep an open dialogue, or at least keep an open dialogue with me so I can keep an open dialogue with them, so they know that we know that there's an issue and we're doing the best we can, because for years they've lived with complete privacy, and now it's encroaching on their home. So
I know, Jake, you've been putting reports in in the weekly too.
and you've already been doing that.
Absolutely. Yep.
But thanks.
Anybody else? That it?
That's all I have, Mayor.
That's all you got, Jake? Okay.
Unless you have a question.
No questions. Council committee reports, River to Sea, TPO. Wasn't there, I was working and Bob was, so we didn't get there this time around? Correct. General Employees Pension Plan.
Nothing.
All right. With that, we are gonna do this again in 6 days. Make a note. With that, everybody have a good night.
Next Tuesday, yep.